Hey guys out there in internet land, it's Hobo Yeti. I know I'm back to the sepia, but man, it is. I had one day of this year, the first, which was nice and sunny and shit, and ever since then it's been depression, um, just hardcore overkill. Doesn't help that it's been raining nearly every day, perpetually, no real sun to speak of, which really affects my mood. Um, I know, Tom. You're like, oh, Pacific Northwest? It's raining? What? Um, but the thing is I can't handle heat. Like my hyperthermia uh, makes it so that I can't deal with extremes of heat or cold. I mean, I can deal with cold better because obviously I can just bundle up or whatever, but heat just destroys me. Um, but anyway, Um, I guess what I want to talk about today is I've been doing some research or posting on some forums for depression, um, and just looking for other ways to cope. And what a joke! I mean, how do you cope with depression? Well, for most kinds of depression or anxiety, you'll go to a doctor and they'll listen to what you have to say, and then they'll prescribe you this, and then if that doesn't work, they'll just prescribe you that or this, that, and the other, and then hopefully they'll find something that works for you, which never really ends up, for me, it's never helped. I mean, I haven't done that. I haven't done the guinea pig thing for, where they try different drugs on you and hope they work. I haven't done that in probably 15, 20 years. Maybe there's other drugs out there that would help. Any comments about that, let me know and I can look into it. Not like I'm in a position to get those, but maybe I could figure out, maybe there's a free clinic or something, or I don't know. Um, but coping, like, how do I cope with depression? Um, I think the egg, there are certain, and I know it used to be that there was it was explained, clinical depression. By the way, I'm not talking about being depressed or sad. I'm talking about clinical depression, right? And so I have to say that every time. I wish they would come up with a different word for it. Maybe there is, but when you say you have depression, people just think you're depressed, and just stop being sad, and go for a walk, do some exercise, whatever. Um, the ways I found to cope are pretty messed up. I mean, I'm in a situation where I'm kind of not at rock bottom, but close, And so, how do I deal with depression? Well, there's some things that I do that help, and I guess the best way to describe depression to somebody who doesn't have it, or uh, basically, it's like if you're, maybe if you've ever been in like a committed loving relationship and everything was going just peachy keen and fine, and then suddenly you're dumped out of nowhere, right? That feeling where you can't breathe. Maybe I don't know, that's the way I felt in situations like that. Maybe not everybody does, but feeling like you can't breathe, and like you can't physically do anything. You're just so heartbroken, right? Um, that's the way I feel like every day. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 1 or 2, maybe. Most days I'm a 0. And so I guess in that metaphor, simile, or whatever, um, coping mechanisms are like somebody saying, "Well, there's always a lot of other fish in the sea." When you're feeling like that, that's what coping does. It doesn't really help. Um, but there are things that I can do to help manage it. First of all, having a good diet is hard. Um, a diet would help. If I found that, uh, you know, okay, so there's a lot of with clinical depression. Um, the old way of thinking, I guess, is that it's a lack of serotonin in the brain, right? And the new way of thinking is no, that's not really it. The doctors have found out that this, and the other. Well, whatever it is, dopamine, serotonin, just whatever. It doesn't really matter. Endorphins. It doesn't matter what it is. I feel like in my head that there's a faucet that has a limited amount, like a reservoir with a limited amount of serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, whatever, and then it goes dry like really quickly, you know. And for me, it's also tied in with my anemia, right, where I don't have any energy to do things, and so. But I found that eggs help. Eating eggs, peanuts. Um, it's kind of hard with my teeth since they're not real, and I can't really chew peanuts very well. But like spinach, pineapple, stuff like that. But it doesn't help a lot. That's the problem. It does help a little bit. And, if I'm feeling like particularly down, I can eat eggs, and like I'll get some like hard boiled eggs at the grocery store, as and that actually helps. It takes me out of that space, which is good. Um, peanuts, or spinach. Bleh. Eating spinach cold is not fun. Pineapple sometimes, but really, it's that's one of my ways of coping. If I remember, I don't always feel like eggs every day or peanuts. They're not really, but I try to include those at least once a week. Um, sometimes I'll force myself to get up and walk. That's another way of coping. I'll you know, like I said, it's like it feels like being hit by a truck, and you're waking up to that. Maybe you've been in a car accident, even a little fender bender, and you wake up and you're just achy and exhausted. That's how I feel, uh, mentally, spiritually, everything. It all physically, it all coagulates into this ball of like I have a hard time getting up, you know. Um, and your brain controls the rest of your body. So, like, if your brain tells you you can't get up, guess what? You're not able to get up. It's not the same as anyway. Um, so walking can help, although around here it's been raining a lot. Can't really do that. Alcohol or weed. I mean, I haven't smoked weed in long time, but like a couple of years. Uh, if I had the money to get it, I guess I would. Or I do have a bottle of alcohol around here somewhere, some rum that I picked up on New Year's because I was just feeling. Uh, ex- well, I think it was New Year's or before New Year's. I think it was Christmas. Anyway, I was feeling like really, really super depressed. Depressed and having depression is bad because the two are bad. Just the holidays. But sometimes, uh, you know, that will help take me out of the mind space. And I know that's not good for everybody. Um, my dad, he was an alcoholic. And so I'm always a little careful about drinking. But sometimes, and I don't see myself as becoming an alcoholic or becoming one of those people that regularly smoke weed. But when you need a head change, if you're sitting there like thinking about, because it depression for me is tied hand in hand with suicidal thoughts, and I'm not I don't actively think suicidal thoughts, or I don't actively plan out, right, like I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna kill myself, right, but it's a passive thing that just sits in the background that's like going, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with this depression. I can't. It's so uh, visceral, and it just encompasses my whole being that I want to end it. Right? Like I want to stop being like this way, and I want to just be done with it. And so by you know, maybe drinking a little bit. I have a very low alcohol tolerance, which really works in my favor. Um, it changes my headspace even for a little bit, and that's nice. Um, but let's see. Um, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. That helps me because it allows me to, like if you're listening to music, that actually can trigger to depression, right? So depressive thoughts can trigger depression for me, and so I don't want that. And you know, I do have a playlist that I can listen to like upbeat stuff, but that doesn't always help. And the thing is like when you're sad, like you resonate more with sad music, right? Um, so if I'm having, and the thing is in your head, you're there's another part of your brain or part of my brain that when I'm listening to sad music and having the depression and depressive thoughts, it kind of, I don't know, it just feels if like if they're kind of in conjunction in a way, right? So listening to happy upbeat music when I'm feeling low and down, you would think would be the fix for that, but it's really not. It's really because my mind is like, I don't really feel this way, so why am I listening to this music? Because music is evocative of um, what you're feeling, right? And so sometimes that's hard. Um, but listening to audiobooks is kind of more of a mental gymnastic. And I can just sit, and if you find like, but the thing is, I'm very sensitive to certain voices, and you know, like even though it might be a great book, but it has a crappy audible narration, like I'm like, okay, not gonna listen to that. Got to go to the next one, and so it's hard to find a good, like James Marsters. With the Dresden series of books, really enjoy that. Really enjoy his voice for narrating, and then I've had a few others that I enjoy. Um, but and some books just suck regardless of the narration, right? So but it helps. It helps on a daily basis. It helps me from depression triggers. I guess it relaxes me, helps me cope. Sunshine is a good coping mechanism because then, if when there's sunshine, you feel like, well, there's or being out in the sun, you get that vitamin D, but also it's like nice, like everything's happy and wonderful. Um, and getting out into the sun is nice, or even just being out. I've never been a go out in the sun kind of guy. I've always been okay, I like a sunny day, but I like being in the shade in the sun, right? And so but I like when there's sun out. It makes me think that there's hope uh, for this, and it helps. It's also a visceral thing. It kind of helps me get my mind in the right mind space. Um, but yeah, it's been tough. Um, you know, the beginning of the year, I had my 100-day challenge, and I failed right away. It was hard because I started having. I lasted about 3 days, and I've been eating better. Don't get me wrong, I've still been eating better, but the depression just hit me like a truck, and I haven't been able to. Uh, I've tried, like I've gone to the library once, I think, in that time to charge my stuff, and uh, and I took a washcloth uh, to the library, and they have like this family restroom or whatever, so I was able to like wipe down and get clean. The thing is it's getting colder. Like next week, it's gonna get in the mid to high 20s, which isn't a big deal because the thing is I've been kind of annoyed that it's been so warm. I mean, it's exciting that it's been warm, right? Um, the super El Nino or whatever they're calling it, the warm weather has been nice, but um, when you when you prepare for the day, like I'm in my tent and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna head out for the day, go to the library or wherever I'm gonna go. I dress in. I've got a hoodie, and then I've got my puff jacket, and then I have some other jackets that I can wear, and I wear those, and I end up being hot. But then as night draws on, around 4:15, when it starts getting dark, ridiculous, it starts getting cold, like really cold, right? So you don't want to be out there unprepared. So you're either carrying jackets or not having enough. I did have some hot hands, and that really helped. Um, like right now, I'm sitting in my tent, and I've got my window flap open or whatever, and like what I'll do, I'm gonna head out here in a minute and get some groceries, go to the library. Um, like I'll be laying in my like I'll get dressed, and then I'll laid back down underneath my covers, my sleeping bag, because I can't deal with the cold. Like if I get too cold with the hyperthermia that I have, if I get too cold, uh, it takes me a long time to get warmed up. So um, that if I get cold and I head out, like I might get warmed up at the library, but even that might not help. So, um, but as far as coping with depression, I mean, give me a break. I mean, the stuff that I do helps, but it's kind of like I don't know. It's it doesn't help that much at all. It's like having a migraine and then uh, taking one of these crappy aspirin, like a 250 milligram aspirin. It might take off the edge, but the pain's still there. It got really dark. What happened? But the pain's still there, and it's hard. Um, Maybe there's some medication out there that would really help me and not decrease my energy. Um, I don't know, but I'm back in sepia mode, and I'm just gonna keep trying. Uh, I've been applying for jobs. I need to get something, but the problem is with the job thing is yes, I can get a job just like I had, working 15, 20 hours a week or something, that's physically demanding for me. I would prefer to find something that I can do long term, that I can work full time hours, like a sit down job, like a call center. So I'm going to keep on looking for those kind of jobs, and hopefully I'll be able to find something, um, and that will give me a little bit more hope, because sitting in my tent all day does nothing for me. As far as my goals or whatever, and without goals, I just kind of slip further and further away. Everything becomes further and further away, so much harder than it should be. Um, because I want to save up for a van, like a cargo van, and then fix it up and live in that, and then if I had to get a part-time job at that point, I could. But the goal would be to move out to a different part of the state that is has you know where the cost of living is cheaper, that I don't have to live in a van, I don't have to live in a vehicle, I can have daily showers, I can all that. But so in my opinion, January 2024 is a thumbs down. Hopefully it gets better. I hope your road's a good one. If you're homeless, I hope it doesn't suck. Hobo Yeti signing off.